that it exists. And if they try to hold us back, we break the chains and reinvest. Put our money in our jobs and in our banks and in our hands. I'm proud that talk about legacy, it's more than what we just do for ourselves. You know, I'm not working this hard to be just great today. You know, I'm hustling to show my nephews and nieces that they don't have to work for just anybody. You know, I'm showing the people in my community that they have options outside of what they've been told. And don't get me wrong, being a black entrepreneur or being an entrepreneur in general is hard, you know? But it's how you take your losses and how you shape your wins that truly navigate your path to success. You will go through some shit. Don't get me wrong. You will go through some shit. It's just all a test to your character.
A lot of the obstacles that I face as a black entrepreneur are twofold. I think the system does everything in its power to kind of suffocate us as black individuals or people of color. And then internally, I think that there's so much that I had to overcome within myself to be able to do this kind of work. And so, you know, you're not only fighting the system on the outside, but you're also going through this internal struggle. You know, a lot of people call it imposter syndrome. A lot of people feel like, you know, it's just trauma, intergenerational trauma, family trauma, trauma between, you know, the environment you grew up in. And all these societal pressures, right? You have to go to school. You want to be an organizer? Who wants to be an organizer? That's not, you know, you got to get paid. You got to get this money. And so you have to fight that concept. And then in the world itself, it's like, you know, black bodies are constantly being devalued on, you know, in media or on TV. We have all these killings that are going on. We have all of these injustices happening in our community. So you internalize that trauma, you internalize that violence. But then when you're on the outside and you're trying to be successful, you're also pushing against that narrative. So it's a lot. It's a lot just being black and alive.
Funding is one of the main things. When I say this, I don't know how you want to do this, but
okay.
When you're a black farmer, a black person, period, it's automatic. It's a point against you. It's a point against you because people don't see you as who you are. They see you as who they want you to be. And they want control. And when they can't get control of what you do or how you're doing things, they have a tendency not giving you or not allowing you to get to that place. Wow. So what you have to do is you have to go over and above to get there. You got to go, other word what I'm saying there, you got to learn how to fish.
Yeah.
Right? If you fish with the same bait all the time, you're going to get the same fish. Oh. You change the bait. You learn how to go into a bigger pond, go into it and find the best part of that pond and fish there and get what you need and come back. Yeah, okay.
You gotta know how to play the game.
Gotta know how to play the game.
Wow.
Yeah, if you don't know how to play the game, your success will not make it because it's always gonna be a block.
Yeah.
See, knowing that there'll be a block, you know how to get around that block.
Yeah.
If you don't know, that block will stay there and you right there. You can't go nowhere. But know it there, then you can get around it.
Would you say it was hard for you as a black business owner to get started?
To be honest, no. Because I think that it's getting started is not the hard part. It's keeping going is the hard part, right? So I'm a huge fan of Nipsey Hussle, and you know his thing is the marathon, right? And a lot of people don't know that the reason why it's even called a marathon is because they're back in the day, back in like BC days. I'm probably screwing this story up, but ancient days, there was a city called Marathon, and there was a guy who actually ran from one city to another city to tell them that the enemy was coming. And as soon as he got there, he collapsed and died.
Wow.
Right. And so it's about literally the journey. So like getting started is not the hard part. It's like, how do you keep going and going and going, and to the point where like at the end of this thing, you might have given it all that you had. That's the difficult part. Like that's the difficult part is like, I read a quote the other day. Gary Vee said, he was like, yo, there's about 7 days out of the year, and it could be the wrong number, but he was like, there's about 7 days out of the year where I wake up and I'm like, F this, I don't, and I was like, yo, I'm having one of those days today. Like, that's me today. Like, I know exactly what you feel. So I would say that that's the most difficult part, right? Is keeping going, because for me, getting started wasn't hard because I was passionate about what I was doing. It seems hard, right? Because you might not know what it is, but passion will pull you through.
Yeah.
Like passion will 100% pull you through, because there's going to be BS, there's going to be questions, there's going to be roadblocks, there's going to be hurdles, there's going to be whatever, but passion will continue to pull you and yank you in that right direction. So when you're getting started, just for me, I relied on my passion. I knew that everything that I was doing with whatever project it was something that I truly believed the world needed, and in my version of. Right, no matter if there was a music studio, there's a hell of a ton of music studios that are better, equipped and better funded than mine. But I felt like the world needed my version of it. Yeah. Right, everybody has a wallet, right? But the thing about my wallets is that I wanted them to be different. I wanted them to make sure that they have messages and mantras that say more about consumer mentality than they say about the manufacturer. Right, because you can always find a wallet that says Louis, Gucci, MCM, whatever the case may be, right? We could have put the Leverage Luxury logo big as hell, but instead we put WWND on the back, which is what would Nip do. Because I feel like that's the way in which a lot of people need to make a lot of their day-to-day and financial decisions, is to ask themselves that question: what would Nip do? Right? Because it's not like Nip wasn't the guy that didn't enjoy having a Mercedes or a Jag or whatever, but he was also the guy that was telling you about crypto and investing in himself and ownership and whatnot. So there's a to me, right, there's a great balance in both leverage and in luxury. Leverage to us is the new luxury, and that's how you gain the luxuries that you want. And I feel like Nip embodied that. So to me, this entire thing was about keeping his legacy alive. So to answer the whole question, no, it's not difficult to get started. It's very easy to get started. The difficult part is keeping going. Like that's the God's honest truth.
You know what? I've been blessed enough that God put me in place to do a lot of amazing things and meet a lot of amazing people to help me along the way. Yeah. I'll say, just as a Black business owner and someone looking to open up something at some point in the past, I think the hardest part was not having enough support. Your family wants to help, but they don't have the means to help. And I have a lot of trainer friends who opened up gyms, and their parents, took out second mortgages, you know what I mean, to help them open up spaces. And my parents and my father and my mother-in-law were able to help a lot, but not to that extent. So I think that was the hardest challenge for me. And then it's just competing and not having those resources, which made it a little bit harder. Okay. But we were able to come through and pull through by God's grace. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit more challenging. Banks won't loan you as quickly. They're a lot less likely to loan African Americans, and studies show that. So, but other than that, man, I've been blessed enough to not have too many issues. But I'm doing everything pretty much out of pocket. So everything you see in here, I pretty much did myself, or I paid for myself. So
I don't think about how I struggle. I think about how I strive. And I think that that's kind of like how people should be moving, because it's like there's 1,000,001 reasons as to why everyone's holding you down. You know what I mean? Or like why things are happening the way that they're happening. But like I prefer to spend a lot more energy on how I'm going to overcome those obstacles than to like be reflecting on the fact that I have them.
Me, I think inspiration is important. And I feel like we've been taught to think that it has to come from like somebody big, or like a celebrity, or like this extreme life-changing moment. And that, that's not always the case. You know, more times than not, it's the people to the left and the right of you that shape your overall narrative. That's why when they say, like, you know, the 5 closest people to you describe who you are as a person. You know, in my eyes, being independent is the community around me, you know? And it's those who are shaping themselves to be leaders in their retrospective spaces. You know, I think for those growing up and coming out of that same community, that it's important that they hear what those people have to say, you know, or how those people think, because they're navigating the same playing field.
Words of encouragement for the young Black entrepreneur. Motivation is bullshit.
Really?
Motivation is bullshit. People think you need motivation. All you need is motive. The right motive, what should be happiness and passion, and that will get you to wherever it is that you want to be.
Wow.
Because motivation will not always be there. Motivation will leave whenever the hell it wants to, right? You might be motivated on day 1, but on day 1001, that same thing that motivated you will not motivate you anymore. But if you have a motive, you will be A-okay.
Wow.
And so motivation is bullshit. All you need is a motive and you'll be all right.
You have to really have a clear understanding of what you want to do. That's number one. You have to know exactly what you want to do. You have to map it out. Obviously, there'll be twists and turns and bumps in the road that might stop you, or you might change ideas midway. But it's always good to have a good foundation of what you want to do. And then entrepreneurship is hard. Like, I think you see social media has you believe, like, start a business and become wealthy and you know what I mean, generational wealth, but it's a lot of work. I could easily get a job, work 40 hours, but I put in easily 70 to 80 hours a week in my business. So you're gonna work harder, but if you're willing to work and you're willing to go through those bumps and grind it out, it's easy. You got to be relentless. And that's one of our taglines here, is be relentless, which I put in because that's what life is about. It's about not only doing, but fighting through those things that make it hard, And I think for me, the things that have made it hard have been the biggest blessings, the things that have stopped me from getting to where I want to be. And then I had to figure out how to get through it. That's been the biggest blessing for me. So for all my young Black entrepreneurs, just one, understand that you're gonna put in work. You're gonna work harder than that person that's working 40 hours a week. You may not have the vacations, you may not, but the end goal is always gonna be more rewarding, at the end.
Okay, so the idea of you having a 9-to-5 job, the idea of you having a degree, and all of these things being imperative to your success is a lie. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be the way that you think it is. There is no syllabus to how life works, and there's nobody that has a key to that understanding. The only thing that you can really do to get there is to develop the characteristics necessary for you to be able to survive in the world. That's like literally it. So if you're willing to struggle, if you're willing to be unstable, then entrepreneurship is for you. And if you're not accustomed or likely going to enjoy the feeling of change, then this is probably not the place you want to be. So, that's what I would say to them.
The words that I would give any Black entrepreneur is to believe in yourself, is to go out there and do it. Everybody has a dream, but in order to really, really pursue your dream, you have to be willing to believe in yourself. And that's easier said than done. I think once you start believing in yourself, a famous line is that the universe will do everything in its power to help you with that. But oftentimes, we're the first ones to be unwilling to take that first step. So if you have a dream, if you have a vision, if you have a goal, it is your duty to fulfill out your passions. Be yourself. Follow your dreams. That's the best thing you could do for this world.
But if you can't see the picture yourself, how can you paint it? You gotta see it first, then you gotta make them see it, paint it. Just like you now, you seen what I'm talking about. I can see it in your eyes.
Yeah.
Yes. So this what I'm talking about. You get the people attention and let them hear it and let them see it. And when you speak from your heart. Let yourself be free.
Yeah.
Let yourself be free. And when you're free, you can free the people. You can free the people.
First thing that you could do for the Newark Water Coalition to help us out is volunteer. Every Saturday we do distributions across the city of Newark from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We give out clean water, we give out clothes, and we need help. It's not very easy to do this alone, so we need as many hands to make the work lighter. I think number 2, we need money. We always need money. If you can go to our website, we have an Act Blue account, which is secure donations, NewarkWaterCoalition.com. Follow us on IG, Clean Water, the number 4, Newark. We have food distribution, so please donate to our community fridges and our pantries.
I would tell them to do the same thing that I'm doing. It doesn't have to be like the same projects, but support other people or support people who support people.
Yeah.
If you don't like, and if you know what I really means is that you could choose to support me. Like if you want to, like you can follow me on Instagram, Queena Bergen. You can go to my website, you know what I mean? You could donate to any of the projects that I have going on. Yeah. But like, I like to take the broader stance of saying like you should support people who support people.
If you want to donate to Green Lake Community Garden, it's very welcome. We welcome donations. Yeah. We have PayPal.
Nice.
You can donate through PayPal. You can donate to Deacon Davis. It's a $ Willie Davis 101. $ Willie Davis 101. And we accept donations because donations are going to help us keep this going.
Yeah.
So,
definitely.
All right.
From a community standpoint, it's just putting it out there and helping me, raise the money is the biggest thing,
Yeah.
I want to be able to pay for kids to go to their entire tuition, every year. So maybe have, 3 or 4 kids that I can pay for a full year of tuition.
That would be so beautiful.
That would be ideal, Now that may not necessarily be through the scholarship, but hopefully the business grows enough that I can afford to do that. But the scholarship is a good start,
For the people who would like to join the tribe, they can check out leverageluxury.com.
Okay.
Purchasing a wallet does get you 1-year membership to what we're creating next. So that is the fastest way. The second fastest way I would say is just to share things that you think are of value.
Okay.
Realize that, every single person creates content.
Yes.
Whether you know it or or not, but you're creating content, whether you're conscious of it or not. And so I think that the way that we could kind of start to do a little better is just to be a little bit more conscious and cognizant of the content that we both create and share, because we see what it does when police brutality is afoot, right? Yeah. When it's a police brutality issue, the way in which we share content just becomes like the desired uniformity that we have, right? It just becomes we mobilize like an army. Yeah. To literally make sure that everybody knows about what's going on.
Yeah.
And I just think that if we mobilize a little bit more about some of the knowledge that we have and are sharing, I think that we'll understand that the world, for us, our world, can be a much better place.